Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. It's been a very busy 7 days for all of us as Cologne has come under, well, a lot of scrutiny. You know, it started, we're all watching it. Firstly, Stage 1, trying to get a grip of who these little underdog rising teams are. And then Stage 2 started. And of course, this one Russian player seemed to hold everyone's attention. I think, unsurprisingly, we were all very obsessed with a certain player, but we'll get into all of that very soon. Of course, joining me as he does every Monday is Quack. No special guest this week. It's just the two of us, you and I. Thank you, of course, to the members who make this show viable, possible, as good as it is. Makes it available to the audio-only listeners. So, audio-only listeners, if you're not members, thank the members. I'm sure you can do that somewhere. I've heard podcasts have comments. I don't know how to look at them. I've never tried. But yeah. It's all because of them. And yeah, members also get access to the King's Court when the members of the community, some pros, some casters, some coaches as well, come along and give us their thoughts, their takes, and as well, their stories. We have the BTS segments that today's just finished with. It's mostly us bickering about where Shiro ranks in a certain time period. Just figuring out his career path, I guess. It wasn't anything particularly dramatic or anything particularly spicy in terms of our debate, but it was an interesting thought experiment. And of course, all the demo watching VODs, the live stream VODs that we do throughout the week, we'll have some talk about that a bit later in the show. But yeah, that's all the members. That's all the promo. Quack, you got anything to talk about, or can we go straight into the topics?
Yeah, in today's behind the scenes, I melted a spatula, which you can enjoy in full HD quality on the members page. No, I've been more active on Instagram lately, weirdly enough. But I want to try and experiment and see what happens if I do something for like 2 weeks. What's gonna happen over there? So follow me there. I do. If you like the games that I play here with that I've started doing recently, with like we're gonna have one more later in the show. If you like that, you're gonna like my Instagram page because I do one thing every day, and after the show I'm gonna do another. So. Yeah, pretty fun like guessing games. So I want to see what happens if I actually put some effort into Instagram. It's _CS, which is where you can find me. And some other stuff. I have used it before. Like every time I go to a LAN, I post some pictures. But like, it's you should follow me there.
The stream was accidentally set to members only, so we are now public. It was members only for about up until just now, but here we are. We are fully public again.
Nice.
Apologies to everyone who can now join in. We were meant to be fully live, but here we are. We are finally getting into the real topics, so yeah, I guess they're not really missing much. We're going to start with Cologne Stage 1, and I think we're going to do an interesting little thing here. I'm not going to talk about every single game, every single team, every single whatever. We're going to start with the Cologne Stage 1 winners. Quack, we're going to pick teams we consider to have been winners in this stage. Now, some of them will be obviously, teams who made it through, you're going to be like, oh yeah, winner, easy. But I want to see if there's any controversial picks. So I think we should start just with the winners who are obvious. Let's just talk about them. So obviously a team of the likes of, let's say, Furia made it through first to fourth. Easy winner. Any controversy about that?
No, easy opening game, maybe not quite as well handled as it should have been by a team like Furia, but they make good work out of Astralis, and that's good to see for Furia.
That's the impressive part of it, isn't it? Just 2-0ing the. It looked a bit spicy, this Astralis. They have looked a bit spicy.
Yep. Yeah, I that's a straight winner, but it's yeah. Without moving on to stage 2, I think that's just a winner. It's not much question about it.
Yeah, and along the same lines, I think a team we were sort of unsure about, given their recent reversal of a roster move. FaZe returning with Brokey, 2-0ing Big. Okay, fair enough, it's Big. But then beating Liquid to go through, and you're like, yeah, I mean, Liquid have been bad, but you needed to beat them, right? You needed to actually make it happen, and to only beat them 2-1 still kind of puts you on edge, but for them, it's going to be a huge W. I mean, bringing Brokey back after his extended sort of benching. Karrigan described as a punishment, I believe, in one of the interviews I've seen,
I thought
which I believe was
really
a bit
fun.
Facetious, but still amusing to me. I do think for them it's a great sign. Like, you've had to get through stage 1 with the return of Brokey. You know, a lot of public attention on you, given the whole simple of it all. Bringing Brokey back after a very disappointing run in 2025, and for him to also be fine. Like, he's not been a superstar, but he was fine. I think that's been really important.
Yep. I'd say a pretty big winner so far is or in stage 1 is NIP, because I would not have put it past them to not make it out of stage 1, to be honest, depending on what their draw was. But this has been really good. This has been really good for them. They really hit the ground running with X-Casper Sky, it feels like. And I could have seen them lose to Heroic, and then, you know, they would have had VP later down the line if they had progressed in that, and I could have seen them lose to VP. I could have seen them lose to 3D Max and Tyloo. Like, I could have seen that happen. So for them to win both against Heroic and 3D Max, that would have been that's really good for them, and especially with the way X-Casper Sky performed after just coming into this team, I think is really good. Especially like X-Casper Sky, this is his second ever big event actually, and he didn't play the first one with ENS. He played an ESL Pro League with NIP, and he was, well, to be fair, the team was also really shitty, but he didn't perform particularly impressive either. Like, I'm looking at that and it's like, wow, okay, this is a bit of a redemption event for X-Casper Sky so far, and that's good. That's good to see for him. So it's good. That's good that they make that work.
Yeah. So the big news around NIP, you know, we've seen them play. We've enjoyed what we've seen. You know, it's a Snappy-led team. He's a great caller. We just have some problems with the Portuguese players. That's basically been the conclusions. Like, we could have had more from those two guys, and we kind of thought they would be. We'd hope they would be better, and as we saw them play, we're like, oh man, especially with this land section where they're just awful. There's still some improvements to be made. Now, you can still argue that you could do better than KYOUSUKE. I don't think he's been tragic. But after seeing how well X-Casper Sky's played since coming in, you think, man, if only they could pick out another player, you know? Maybe upgrade him, and all of a sudden we're cooking. But no, this has been brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, this has been exactly what you'd hope to see. They were really strong. The Heroic win was probably, for me, the one I was more expecting to happen. Just because Heroic, you know, fresh team, I had some questions about how they'd actually play. But the 3D Max part of it was wonderful. Because 3D Max, you know, they're hot and they're cold. They always have been. They've been very streaky. When they're on, they're about as on as you can be. You know, with Gravity hitting crazy openers, Lucky mopping up triples despite his crosshair being on the ground 90% of the round. Like, they are a team who just frustrate you to predict exactly what level they're going to bring, but also to prepare for. Because you can see, against teams who should be far superior, who have greater names, maybe even play better CS overall, they can still come in and just beat them off the back of their uber-committed just belief in their IGL, it seems like, and in their very gamble-heavy playstyle. So to see that win come through was a sigh of relief, I think. If you're an NIP believer, if you're a Snappy fan, you know, as I said on Retake, the Double Swing, Friday night, came out basically Saturday morning with how late it was. Snappy stock should never have been so low. Like, Maui said he was buying it low. I mean, at that point, after stage 1, it should have already been on the rise. It should never have been so low. Like, he is a great IGL. That Falcons period was a farce in a variety of ways. This is what we expected. Get him his team, let him pick his players. He's going to make it work. And so far, so good. Loving what I'm seeing.
Yep. Beyond that, I think the only other proper winner I can really pick out, which seems obvious to me, is probably Heroic, despite losing that game. I think we talked about it last week. It's about how they had a pretty winnable bracket. Like, it was not going to be easy, but it's definitely like every game felt relatively close, felt realistically winnable. But I wouldn't have put it past them to lose those games considering how Fisher went, and it's good for them that they managed to get this done, because this is probably where they should be. Like, you make you make it in stage 2 in Cologne. That basically means you're top 16. There's not a lot nobody skips Cologne, and making it back up to that top 16, top 15 level after making these sweeping roster changes and pretty big, like very big changes both internally in how they play with the team, but also there's a new coach, there's a new opper, there's a lot of new stuff to work with here. Making that happen quite early on, actually, I think is very good for them, because they would have survived the season even if they went out last here in Cologne. It's not like this lineup would have been doomed. But being able to show something like this early on, I think is very good. So, and that starts in stage 1, and they've been doing all right in stage 2. There's definitely they have the rematch against NIP later on today. And there's definitely a chance for reversing that result and winning, because that game was close early on.
Yeah, it wasn't a smashing. They did go and lose 2-0 to Spirit eventually. We'll get to stage 2 when we get to stage 2. But stage 1 for me, it was, you got to prove it. Like, I wasn't too happy with Fischer.
Yeah.
I need to see something here. And MIBR, they trounced them. Insani did his best, hard carry impression, but realistically, they just got annihilated. And then beating VP, who you feel like you should beat. And it's like VP are just that team where it's, if you lose to them, you kind of, everyone looks at that match and goes, why? Like, are you genuinely worse than Virtus.pro? Because then we have to have some concerning conversations. Or did Virtus.pro have one of those magical sort of, it just all worked type of days? But when you beat them, it's like, okay, good. Phew. We beat them, move on to the next stage. And for me, that heroic game, like, so far, we haven't seen the Nilo I wanted to see. But to be fair, I didn't think I could on this roster. I didn't think I'd get Nilo in the roles that I thought he played so well in on meta support. So I need him to be solid in this sort of new version of him who's trying to be the aggressor. That's supposed to be what he's trying to do. But as long as it doesn't get in the way of Tanir carrying, as long as Grix can find his like spots and, pick his moments, make his plays, this team will succeed. Don't necessarily need a 1.2 rated Nilo. Just a strong Nilo does the role that's required and enables that Tanir and Grix duo to hard carry. Like, the Belarusian duo is going to be the one that's supposed to be winning the MVPs, basically, for this team. I'll be happy. And we'll see, Linus, Youngster, they've had their moments. They've actually had some strong maps. Linus has had some strong, like, streaks of sort of opening frag, like, sort of rounds. Like, I saw some hard entrying. I was actually watching a demo, and my flatmate, he plays CS, but he's not really a big follower of the esports scene. He's watching over my shoulder. We're not actually watching, I think, anyone on Heroic's POV. And then Linus gets like a triple entry on Ancient. And I was just like, oh, damn, nice. And he was, oh, that guy's pretty good. It's like, he's the IGL. I was like, huh? I was like, yeah, he's the IGL. He's a fragging IGL. He gets some kills, but, here he's having a map, No, Linus had his moments as well. This has been a decent showing. Stage 2 needs to keep showing more, though. Like, we need to see, I think this NIP game needs to be a win for them. Like, if both these teams are going in, this is a must-win. We can't go out in last place, especially not to each other. Like, we don't rate you, but it's like, we can't let this be how we lose. Like, we need to be, by our own standards, better than you. And both of them want to be like top 10, and essentially losing that battle means we're at best top 15.
Next game you're running into Mouse or Navi. That's the next opponent. So
yeah, it's tough.
Winning this game is basically the only thing you have to play for at this point. Like, realistically, you're not
beating
Mouse or Navi.
Yeah, it's their grand final. Not finishing last to each other is their grand final.
This is the only win they're gonna have in this group stage, most likely for both teams. So they should fight for this tooth and nail, and I think they're going to. I think for Linus, he's taking a lot more of a traditional IGL role in this new roster, where like he's playing like a bit more Kerrigan-esque, where like he's taking a lot of those hard entries and like he's taking a lot of those hard fights, opening up space for Tanir and Nilo to use, which I think in the long term that's going to work out really well. It's just an adjustment, but he's doing it really well early on. So I do like it. I do like the way it's looking, and I do like the way he's playing. I like the way everybody's playing at this point. Nilo is the one guy you could maybe point to, like he's not really having the numbers that you would expect, but it's also just a couple of maps early on. Like, this is a transition for him as well. This is the first time for him at this level, so the raw numbers of it still maybe waiting for that. Grix as well is maybe not quite up to those 120 something he was putting up earlier, but again, this is also an adjustment. He hasn't played at this level before, so I'll give it another 2 months or another 3 months or whatever until we see the peak of this roster. But already I'm seeing good stuff, which is sort of telling me that this is going to be a top 10 team of the fall season. So
yeah,
for that I'm really happy.
Yeah, I mean, we expect Tanir to end this. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm still expecting Tanir to just go and win Rookie of the Year. He's adding, like, Stage 1, he's 1.20. Stage 2, they've only played one series, but he's still put up, like, respectable numbers. Yeah, he's 115 against Spirit. I mean, doesn't quite compare to Jota's 70 maps of 0.99 rated, but in semifinals. I agree. Yeah, sorry. Got to give him that credit. But he should be making a strong case for Rookie of the Year in events like this. Like, they're not really making playoffs, yet they're playing the best teams, and he's putting up insane stats. I expect that to continue. let's move on to the losers. I think we need to address the losers of stage one. They're going to be disappointed, obviously. They're in this section. The biggest loser, I think, straight off the gate, like, I don't even think it's a team in last place. It's obviously a team. They have a player on the thumbnail. Tai Lu, from Fisher to this. I'm not going to say it's expected. I'm just going to say I didn't expect them to do that well at Cologne, but I thought they'd make stage 2, right? I don't think that was. I didn't think they'd fall off as far as they did.
Yeah. They lose to VP, which is probably not, like, again, I'll give them credit. If that would have been a close game, I would have given them credit, but this is a bit of a smacking from Virtus.pro.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't, like, Virtus.pro, one of the losers from Fisher, one of the big losers from Fisher, and they come up against the players who won that event, and they beat them quite conclusively. Then it's, again, I would have given them credit for beating Complexity if they did it in more of a stomp fashion, but it's a 3-mapper. 2 of the maps are 13-11. It's not looking, convincing. And then it's a 3D Max. It's like 3D Max Tai Lu is a bit of a 50-50 game. They've played each other quite a bunch of times. They're at a similar level, and it's always gone the way of Tai Lu before, but this time 3D Max got the better of them. And it's a bit like, it's so close. That first map is what, 3 or 4 overtimes, and then the second map is the 13-10. So that's a lot. Again, a lot closer than I think. For it to be that close in the first place is kind of a failure for Tai Lu, considering they've beaten 3D Max conclusively, or like previously. Even if they're similarly ranked, they have beaten them, and then they go and lose it as well in an elimination series. In a 3D Max, which is also struggling. 3D Max is struggling quite a bit. They've said themselves that, like, they would have expected a lot more improvement from Shanghai to now, and they haven't seen that. They haven't seen that much of a step up over the spring season. I think they were very stagnant in the spring season, maybe even taking a few steps back. So for them to knock out Tai Lu, who were on such a big high after last week, basically, it's a bit disappointing for them.
Yeah, they got luckied. They got absolutely luckied. That's that guy, man. I don't know if you've ever watched a POV demo of Luckies, but they are unique. Let's put it that way. They are something to behold, and it's not good to see this sort of loss. I mean, they are coming off. It's a short turnaround, I guess. We can start to make some excuses, but I'm just a bit shocked at the way they came in and the way they performed.
I'm not going to judge their season until we get a couple of more events out of this Tai Lu. Like,
we're far from judging the season. We're 2 events in.
No, but like I'm not. They can still do well at the next event off the back of Fisher. I think the way they can still live on that high for quite a while longer, even with this Cologne loss. But it's and it sort of help them power through that. But it's not overly convincing so far.
Look, their VRS is still number 8 in the world. Like, they're not going to be dropping down the charts anytime soon, thanks to Fisher. Like, we know that has massively boosted them. It took them up to 7. They've moved down to 8. They're going to get invites. They're going to play the entire season. Yes, I'm not expecting them to all of a sudden just commit suicide, just no longer be viable as a roster just because they lost here. But we're far from judging seasons. We're just talking this event. This event, they should be disappointed, regardless of how much time is left in the year.
Yeah. I have another loser who I think is probably going to be even more disappointed. And I feel like they continuously fly a bit under the radar in this regard with how they've performed. And it's Pain. We're now up to the 2nd event in a row where you could definitely call them a bit of a failure after a very successful major run where they made semifinals. Like, this is a major semifinalist team we're talking about. And they shit the bed in Fisher. They don't even make it out of groups. And here, I would say they also shit the bed. I think there's teams in these games that they've played that they definitely should have beaten. They should have put a much better of a fight against Liquid. They definitely shouldn't have lost the map to Big. And I think they should have beaten Astralis. Like, if it wasn't for Fisher, I definitely would have seen Pain take that at 2-0. Even now, I feel like, especially with it being a 3-mapper, I feel like Pain are the ones who should win that 3rd map. So Pain, I feel like, are bit down. For them, I'm starting to count them out, and I'm starting to say this is going to be tough to recover from, because at this point they've had two events where one of them, realistically, Pain should have been like a top 4 team in Fisher, and at least. And it's hard for me to see how they recover from this, even over the next couple of events, because now it's sort of like whatever they had going for them after that Austin Major semifinal, that's gone at this point. And at this point, they're slowly drifting back down. People are not going to think of them as a top 10 team anymore. They're going to have to fight back from the top 15 level.
People never should have considered this team a top 10 team. Just going to throw this out there. They should have.
They really good.
Because as soon as I was complaining at the time of the run that they had, or especially Furia's run as well, felt similar during the major. Let's talk about this. Since DGT has joined, right? Let's talk about the teams they've managed to beat. Nemiga in a best of 1. Furia in a best of 1. Linvision best of 3. Nemiga best of 3. 3D Max best of 3. Oh, we're getting competent. Virtus Pro in a best of 3. Furia in a best of 3. Rare Atom in a best of 3. Big in a best of 3. In that period, they made a major top 4. A reminder, it's nonsense to have ever given that team top 10 credit. If you ever let that come into your mind, you are cooked. They have played at exactly the level you could expect of a team who's beaten that caliber of teams, and no one else. That's entirely expected.
There's a fair few like top 15 teams they're beating in that run though, and that puts them top 10. If they're pretty convincingly beating top 5, like beating top 15 teams, that makes you top 10. That's the thing.
To beat Furia and 3D Max once apiece in series, that makes you top 10.
You don't get that many opportunities. This is still over quite a big period of time. Like we're still talking a pretty big time span since they got DGT. And early on, yeah, it was losses. It was straight up best of 3 losses.
Those are the wins. I didn't talk about the losses. They won 42% of maps in that period. They are not a top 10 team. That's an insane statement to afford them.
They beat Linvision. Linvision are a top 20 side. They beat them very convincingly. And Nemiga, I would say at the major, definitely top 20, maybe even top 15. They beat them pretty convincingly. 3 Max, eternally the number 15 team. They beat them 2-0. They play Virtus Pro. At that time, teetering on top 10, I would say. They were definitely in the top 15. They beat them. They beat Furia. And then they lose to the Mongols, of course. That's the major run. They repeat the win against Rare Atom in Fissure. And then they lose to, Rare Atom. I meant to say Linvision, which they didn't repeat. They lose to Linvision, they lose to 3 Max. They're dropping down. Like, whatever made them good in the first place is starting to disappear. And they haven't really been tested against those top teams there, but I would say that they were a top 10 side.
They're a top 10 side because, in your estimation, they beat Nemiga, 3D Max, VP, and Furia in series. That's
because a lot of the teams they're beating are the same teams that are beating some of the teams that we do consider top 10. Like, but it's like I had a hard time putting 9 other teams ahead of Pain, or 10 rather. I could put 9, but I had a hard time doing that. Pain kind of just had to sit there. Now they're not. They're out of that. They're way out of that, and that's like everything that was in favor of them. It's gone. They've reversed all of it because pretty much all of those opponents they have now played again and they've lost pretty convincingly. So then it's like we're back to square one. And like what's gonna happen here? So yeah, I would still say even if I will concede they were not a top 10 side, they should have made it out of stage 1, and they didn't.
To put it this way, the wins and losses they had in stage 1 were entirely appropriate for what I expect of Pain. Now, you can say they got hard done by the matchups. They had to play Astralis, who are just a better side. They're just a better side at this point. And they're just that bad. I mean, obviously, the one clown show that everyone keeps referring to, I mean, I've seen them come up twice already in the chat. Snow was hilariously awful. And
yep.
I mean that in the most literal sense, because I remember I tuned into specifically Maui Snake's co-stream, and it was just the clown show of Snow. Like, just watch him and laugh, because every single round he could have done something to make that Ancient a win. He flopped. He let the team down.
Yep.
He went 0 for 2. He went 0 for 1. He had a great opportunity on a free kill. He whiffed it. He tried to edge the smoke. He got banged. Like, he was awful. But let's be clear. Pain have had issues with other players. As much as we've liked, you know, NQZ's had some strong series. Davideus had some strong moments. Big Uzira's kind of fell off. DGT hasn't been a star. Like, they've been overall underwhelming despite these moves, despite our excitement for these moves. And the one brief patch where they got some success, it's not like they were beating legit sides that we really rate. We're talking about teams we call inconsistent, teams we say, we don't expect to do a whole lot at most events. We're talking 3D Max, Virtus Pro. We're talking some Chinese sides thrown in the mix. We're not talking like they took 2-0s, like put belt to ass against GamerLegion. We're not talking like they took the weakened Falcons and managed to put them to bed. We're talking about a very weak run that has inflated, I think, a lot of their worth overall. This isn't the pain that are eternally on the rise. This is the pain who are eternally plateaued here and refuse to shift up a gear no matter what's changing. So at some point we do have to be a bit more brutal about pain and be like, oh, they didn't quite make it to stage 2 of Cologne? Yeah, that's roughly where they are. That's who they are. They are pain.
I will say something which I feel like I hear more and more of is that across the whole season, the whole spring season, I feel like I've heard people on desk, like on the analysis desk, people keep talking about how Snow is so solid in his intangibles and like he really steps up for the team when he's needed and he's such an excellent anchor. Dude, like I'm not seeing that whatsoever. He had a great Blast Bounty. Like I paid the most attention to him during Blast Bounty.
Yeah. He got that's his entire season. The entire narrative is basically Blast Bounty. And I guess if you want now, you can throw on at Fisher. He had a strong rating. He had a strong Fisher.
But
it wasn't a very long Fisher, but he had a strong Fisher. Those are the 2 events he's had this entire year where his rating is not red, basically.
Yeah, and the Blast Bounty, it's one game. He was really good in that game against Navi. He was really good in that game, and that's fair. But then it's nothing. It's all red. It's not even like he has singular games. He has single-digit matches where he was, I would even say, a contributing factor to Pain winning games. Because in their losses, he's still sub 1-0 rated. Or even when he has like one crazy pop-up map, like they beat Astralis in February. Even when he had one crazy pop-up map, 181 in a 13-6. He's still 0.74 and 0.90 in the other 2 maps. It's not him winning those maps. It's not him winning those series. Like there's other 2-0 win over Virtus Pro. He's still 0.94, 0.86. Like what's going on? What's going on with this player? He has maybe 2 or 3 games where Pain win and he has a good rating against an opponent which they shouldn't already beat. Like Rare Atom, yeah, sure, you got a great rating up there. You're not doing anything. Lin Vision, you're great for the first 2 maps, 0.59 in the 3rd map, and you lose the series. Like, I'm not saying Snow needs to hard carry the team, but you look at some of his peers, and they're not dropping 0.43s. Like they're not dropping those shit ass numbers to the same degree. So Snow is one of the guys who I feel like, at least in the spring season, were very overrated by certain people.
Yeah, I decided, just out of curiosity, I did take a look. Maybe I was thinking, you know what might be happening? This has happened before, or this can happen sometimes, where you take a look at, if you're an analyst and you're like trying to prep for an event, you take a look at advanced numbers. You take a deep dive into certain things, like positional data. You use Edge, Skybox Edge, and you look for something specific. Well, in full buy rounds this year, he has an ADR of 68. His positions on his anchoring, he's 1.03 rated in full buys v full buys when his comparative average should be 1.17. There's nothing good. I cannot find a single thing that's positive. I mean, his standout map is his Mirage A anchor for this year has actually been rather strong. Everything else is bad. His T side, he's got 9 rounds of mid on Ancient that are strong. And his T-Ivy play apparently on Train has been solid. But for the most part, like his B-Lurk Dust 2, he's played 114 rounds of that, 0.93 rated. Like, there's not even an advanced metric I can point to that are causing people to be so excited about him. I think his age is doing a lot of the carrying here.
Yes.
He is 18, and so people are giving him a more than a fair shake. But when we have 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds consistently playing fine CS, why are we trying so desperately hard to make this one who's playing terrible CS into something more? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, if Zwei spoke Portuguese, then Snow would look ass. Snow would not have a job.
If his name was Svaizinho, yeah, he'd already be a
Svaizinho,
top 20. Like,
yeah, like it's not looking that good. So, is that what's losing them maps?
It's a part of it.
Definitely quite a few of them. Is it what's putting them, away from a playoff run? Probably not, but yeah.
Yeah, we probably talk about Big Zera's form. He's been inconsistent. We can talk about DGT and Davideus, the big signings, and maybe not living up to all the hype. But realistically, the only part of this team I can be consistently happy with, I feel like, and I might be wrong if I look into the deeper, if I actually address the stats. I don't know what the stats look like this year, but I feel like NQZ is the only player where I'm generally happy. You know, maybe I'm forgetting a few bad runs, but I feel like he's been the one player on the team I could somewhat rely on. And now that I do have the event list up, he has been pretty good.
Yeah, and there's obviously series where he doesn't play that well. You're gonna get that out of any player. Like, he's not a superstar, but he's definitely a very good AWPer. He's definitely one of the better AWPers of this year. I think his ranking among AWPers for the spring season of 2025 is higher than Payne's ranking as a team in the whole over the course of the whole spring season. Definitely. So yeah, like he's outperforming the team in that sense. So for him, it's definitely much better. But yeah, I was really excited about the DGT move. It really did work out in the major. DGT played very well there, and that signing really seemed to have paid off. But it hasn't really carried on in the way that I expected it to, and that's a shame, a big shame. I have another stage 1 loser, and this is a bit more tenuous, maybe.
Okay. I'll be ready to argue.
I'd say Virtus Pro are probably a loser here, even if they did beat. Oh no, they didn't play Pain, but they did beat Tyloo. Like, they beat another one of the losers. I'd say Virtus Pro are a loser here, because similarly to Pain, like, they had this off event in Fissure, and I would have excused it if they could have come into Cologne and performed well, because now they have a roster with experienced high caliber players. Like, even, you know, you have Perfecto coming in and you expect Perfecto to put up a certain floor level. And I think I expect that floor to be above Heroic. I expect that floor to be above Tyloo, which they did make work. But it's mostly like, it is that Heroic series where I feel like that's where you've gotta see better stuff out of Virtus Pro. And I feel like they, with the big signing they made, which is a risk, coming off the back of a pretty weak season, which finished pretty strong. Like, VP finished very strong on a pretty weak season in the spring season. They came off the back of that. They make a big signing, which is a risk. Again, like, Flamus was working out in a couple of ways. You're risking it on a player who's been inactive for so long.
Oh no! Can we address the ways Flamus was working? I think that's a topic by itself. What was working about the Flamus move? Like, nothing was working about Flamus.
What parts of it? Like, there's
it was awful.
It was awful, but he was bringing a certain individual level in a couple of rounds, and especially in that major run where, like, you got the step up out of him, you got the step up out of all the players, but he was one of them, which was giving them miracle maps and miracle games, which they probably shouldn't have won. But it's still like, could you have worked with that? Could you have maybe changed something else? The roster was basically in flux. Like, the rumor was that they were basically, like, Flit and Fame were going to leave. They were going to leave, and bringing Perfecto in is what kept them on the team. You should have come in stronger than this, I think, with than what they've done so far. And Cologne is part of it. I think that, I feel like from not from my perspective, but from their perspective, they should have won that Heroic game. I think from their perspective, considering how close it was, and considering you have, at this point at least, this early on, a pretty clear weakness in Kersey, from their perspective, there should have been GamerLegion, I think. So it's like, that's what they would have expected, and that's what they would have. It's like, I do feel like for them it would have been stronger, and I think they definitely feel like that this is a losing event, even in the context of the changes they made and everything. They should have been stronger here, I think.
I think Virtus Pro perennially believe they should be better than they are because of who they are, in terms of an org, in terms of the individuals, but to realistically assess, again, who they beat, who they lost to. Beating Tyloo felt like a bit of a miracle. It felt like a damnation upon Tyloo after their massive win at Fissure. It felt like the karmic gods just slapping down upon them. Like, no. That was too good for you. But the loss to GamerLegion, I don't care if Kersey's a weakness. Slend was a weakness. GamerLegion performed anyway. GamerLegion's win con has, for the last 7 months, been their rifle duo of Res and PR. It's been the calling. It's been a lot of things. It's definitely not been the AWPer, so I don't care for that. They're supposed to lose that game. They lose that game. The game against Heroic, that's where the door should be at least ajar. I wouldn't say it's open, but Heroic are a team where they have made weird roster moves, a lot of roster moves. They've had to come in with a new coach. There's a lot of new players embedding. Fresh ideas need settling. If you could repeat the form you had, sort of like, I mean, a 1.44 rated Perfecto is pretty hard to replicate. But if you could get something even close to that out of your team again when you played Heroic, there's a chance you beat them. Now, they get smacked in the mouth. Tanir's the best player on the server. Grix has one of his best... Grix and Nilo actually both have some of their best series since joining the team. And you just get sent straight home. I feel like that one's going to be a bit of a sting. And even if you're not coming in with their expectations, you would feel that, especially that you didn't take a map. So I could give you them as a loser on that front. You shouldn't have been battered by this new look Heroic. But overall, I think VP, again, the expectations have been too high. The expectations have been set, just above where they are. Top 16 feels generous for them right now. Their major run was, firstly, you need to check your sources. Flammers had naught to do with it. He was still sub 0.91 rated. Like, he was 0.9 something.
It's a close maps and then a 4K. It's that level. That's what,
he was not good. The entire team is 1.2 rated or better, and then there's him sub 1. You can't be talking about him on that sort of
key rounds.
You're putting him on a pedestal.
I felt that he had key rounds when I was watching.
Uber selective in the recalling of how that went. But this team is, for the entire season, especially last year, there's the occasional like close to playoff run or first stage of the playoffs in like an Astana. Maybe they'd make a semi, I think, at one of them, but generally it was just a slow downhill like sort of roll, I guess, like, you know, treacle avalanche, just tickling down the hill and just never really stopping. It never got better. It never flattened out. They got that brief random, it feels purely random moment in the major stage 2. And since then, yeah, we've seen them go back to what we expected from them. This Perfecto signing hasn't seemed to have changed a whole lot. Not enough. It's just shifted who's playing unacceptably poorly, it feels like. So I'm kind of done on VP. This should be another smack in the face. This should be another wake-up call. They're going to walk away from their PCs and their brand new jerseys with their massive sponsor names, looking all sad. But I'm like, you've been doing that for 7 months. You've been doing that since last year when Flammers joins. This ain't going to change anytime soon.
Probably not.
Shall we move on to stage 2?
Let's move on to stage 2, yeah.
So we've got to start with, of course, the talk of the internet, the talk of the town, the talk of everything. And that is, obviously, KYOUSUKE. KYOUSUKE. I'm going to try and pronounce it as incorrectly as possible, just because it'll piss someone off. KYOUSUKE has been so good.
How is it a debate how to pronounce this guy's name? Because we've been talking about him for a year and a half, I feel like. We've been talking about him as the next guy for a year. Has nobody just said his name out loud and up until that point? Like, what's happening?
So the division has come here. So the anime fans of Counter-Strike only watch Tier 1 CS. You know, they watch it in the same way they watch TV. They're clearly not paying much attention because they're watching anime. So they are unaware of him until all of a sudden he's here, and then they hear casters saying it the way we've all been saying it for a while, which is KYOUSUKE or KYOUSUKE. He's not said he's bothered about either one. I'm going to call him KYOUSUKE now, because fuck it. Apparently this is the new thing. It's always wrong, so why bother trying? But can we talk about CS? I don't really care. Counter-Strike-wise, he's had about as good as a start as you could hope.
Yep.
The very first of series they play, 2-0 against GamerLegion, he plays fine. He has a few really strong Deagle rounds. I think I remember... No, that's on the next series. I'm remembering the Deagle play against Mongolz. He has a few stronger rifling rounds, yes, against GamerLegion. A couple occasions where he gets like shot in the side of the head, and you're like, nah, it's a shame, but maybe, you know, there's one kill he gets, like, ZTR takes him out when he doesn't fully clear lobby, and you're like, it's whatever. It's nitpicking to really be that mad about it. But overall, this is a strong series from the team. Like, Nico is a great performance, Munacy is a great performance, and then you add on to it, you tack on to the end of that KYOUSUKE, and you're like, oh, this is what we were promised. Like, this is what we hoped for. Like, when you talk about that move, you talk about the firepower on the roster. This is the next step. This is what takes them potentially to conversations with Vitality. We're all getting very excited, of course, and then they play Mongolz, get smacked in the mouth. KYOUSUKE is magnificent. You know, he, again, I think it's back-to-back double kill Deagle rounds, or back-to-back half buys sandwiched into a buy round they lost, where he just hits crazy double Deags. He's been as sharp as promised. He's pretty much delivered what we hoped he could. so far he's not falling apart. And that's been the big conversation. Will he hold up to the strain? I don't know. They should make playoffs. When we get to that point, we'll see what happens. But so far, yeah, exactly what was promised.
Yeah, and somehow that's like exactly meeting expectations is somehow still an interesting talking point. But yeah, it's he's doing fine at the moment, and that's like you said, that was a big question mark. It doesn't, at least on the face of it right now, it doesn't seem to have moved Falcons all that much as a team, considering they do still take that Mongolz loss, which you would maybe even argue they should have probably won that series, even with the strong form Mongolz have at the moment. I would still probably put Falcons above Mongolz over the last season as a whole. So for that, yeah. But then, I still expect them to make it out here. They have a pretty easy lower bracket. Furia, it's like that one they definitely shouldn't lose. They could, but they definitely shouldn't. They definitely shouldn't lose to Furia. And then they have G2 or 3D Max, and I think new G2, definitely they should beat the new G2, I think.
Should, yes. But also, apparently, Furia should beat the new G2, but I was right about that one. But no, the new G2 will be a dangerous team to face. That's the entire point of my pick on the double swing, is that this team is, right now, is the toughest time to face them. Like, they are fresh. They have yet to, I think, fully integrate, put their system into place. I mean, sure, maybe in 3 months, once Swords had time to cook and chef it up, they'll be dangerous again. But right now, for that first 3 month stint, this will be the most dangerous. They're going to be loose. They're going to be confident. There's not going to be any sort of inter-team sort of dynamic to worry about. Anyone who's stepped on someone else's toes. Everyone's open and ready to play. And I think that makes them very dangerous considering how skilled they are. So no, that game will be interesting for Falcons. But look, they should be destroying Furia. That's going to be interesting to watch. They should be coming out here and smashing them. Like, in theory, you think Nico, m0NESY, I mean, both of them were quiet against Mongolz. That's real. That was a real problem they had. I mean, Senzu was basically the other superstar on the server. Like, you look at that server, the two superstars are under 20. And that's so sick. We have such a sick future coming with Senzu and KYOUSUKE now both playing good at big events consistently. We can talk about that as well next. We're talking about Mongolz. But if we get Nico and m0NESY playing to their level, plus this KYOUSUKE just so sharp, impact on the Deagle as well, like that force buy impact that we've seen Donk have a lot of the time. I mean, statistically this year, he's still basically the best player in the world, even if he only has a Deagle. That's been kind of nuts to see. If KYOUSUKE is bringing that sort of edge to this roster, I'm terrified. If I'm anyone but Vitality, I'm bricking it going into that series. And even if I'm Vitality, every game against Falcons is a grand final. It was already tough last season. Now it's even harder.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, look, it's way too early to say anything about Falcons. I think we're going to need to see a couple of more events out of them. But especially with how KYOUSUKE shakes up the team as a whole with their role distribution, and like you said, somebody might step on somebody's toes. Right now, what they're communicating outwards is that everything is fine and dandy with KYOUSUKE and m0NESY, but give it a couple of events and maybe Nico feels like he's a bit cramped. Maybe KYOUSUKE doesn't, it has to, maybe there's an issue, there's a potential issue there. Whatever might happen, the whole team is changing a bit, and I don't feel like it's made Falcons all that much better in a weird way. I feel in a weird way, I feel like it's not like you have this KYOUSUKE, but so far the results aren't really showing. It's just 2 games to start with, but
if they don't make playoffs here so far, but yeah.
No, but like if they don't make playoffs here, then that's definitely a failure. And I have to feel like they probably make playoffs if they play with Magisk in a weird way. So
yeah, no, that's a fair take. Like, to say this team has failed at their first event if they don't make playoffs is entirely fair, given who's on the roster. Like, you can't take that standard away just because there's a roster move. You have to kind of say this is your minimum expectation is to make those playoffs. Yeah. You shouldn't be falling short of that mark. We're not asking you to go win the event. We know we are watching a Vitality go on this incredible streak. You're still having to get through teams like Spirit, teams like MOUZ, teams like Mongolz. Quite importantly, it's not a done deal, but you do need to make playoffs. That is expectation. Even if your group is loaded, you still need to make those playoffs.
Yep. So for that, we're just gonna have to see.
Let's wait and see. But obviously, we're going to have to talk about it, though. Yeah, as long as they're playing, we're talking. And with the new guy on the block, we have to address his play, and it was, so far, as good as I'd hoped it'd be. The Mongols.
Yeah.
They have managed to maintain some of the excitement that the Asian scene had built, and that kind of felt like it was lost a tiny bit of it. A tiny bit of it was lost when Tyloo got eliminated in stage 1. You're like, oh, damn it. You know, I saw the tweets. But Mongols, yeah. They beat 3D Max, and it was, honestly, the Ancient game. It was Ancient or Nuke? Nuke game, that's it. That's the first map. The Nuke map was holy crap embarrassing. If you are 3D Max, you picked that map, and you looked like you'd never played it. You got utterly wrecked. And then Ancient, yeah, a lot closer, but still, you lost. You just lost. And then they go into the game with Falcons, and we get, as I said, a superstar Senzu. We get that some outstanding clutch work from Blitz. I think that's a very key part of what allows them to win Dust 2. So Dust 2, you know, it's getting close before that clutch. Like, sure, a lot of Falcons' impact was coming on these weird half buys. They were trying to make things, just force things to work. But they did have that round in the bag until Blitz just took it all away from them. So, all in all, a lot of the things that we've been liking about the Mongols showed themselves in that series. Like Senzu being a star, 910 being a star, Blitz being a well above average fracking IGL. All that was great. And if you want to cast your mind back to the first series, they also got good levels out of Mazinho and Techno. That's always been a worry. Like Techno, we've had our concerns about Techno's play, like maybe taking cheap deaths, maybe not having all that impact. You know, last season, one of the few non-IGLs to be rated lower than most IGLs. Like, that was a startling statistic. And plus Mazinho, you know, he's our little, you know, he's our little favourite. Everyone loves the look of him. He's cute, he's bubbly, he's fun in interviews. He's had some off moments, he's had some off events. He had an off series, actually, against Falcons, but he was strong, taking care of 3D Max. He has shown his levels just, it's there still. So I think we're very excited for Mongols to keep maintaining this sort of performance. Beating Falcons, I think, keeps the door open for them to be number 3 in the world, potentially number 4 in the world. I mean, we talked about them last season as been, you know, with the top 1, the big 3 behind them, and then Mongols and Aurora. The major made us feel like they'd taken that step towards the top group, and this maintains it. I mean, hell, if they can go and win a seeding match against Vitality, that'd be something. I mean, the first team to beat Vitality in a series since Aurora in January. Now, there's something to talk about. There's something special.
Because we did feel Mongols took that step. It's just they didn't have to beat any of the guys to make it there. Like, they didn't impress. They didn't play Mouse, or they didn't play Spirit to make it up into that, or Falcons even, to make it into that conversation.
Yeah, that's the thing. We didn't say they were in the group. We just it's like they're now 5. They're not 5 and 6. They're now 5.
They were playing good enough where you would see that, but they didn't show it against that level of teams. So now they've done it against Falcons. I do feel like there's more solidly in the conversation now. It's just getting closer and closer. But about like Mazinho and Techno, I never had any big worries about Techno in terms of, like, he wasn't outputting that much, but the thing, I feel like more than probably any other player or any other player in his role at this level, he was very much filling every single other role, where like he was very much being like housekeeping. Like, he was very much cleaning up the mess that other players might make, and you don't really get a lot of credit for that in terms of rating. His output wasn't that great. You would have loved to see a bit more output from him, but he's still up there with the clutches. He's still up there with, you know, making rounds happen in a different way. Mazinho is the guy I almost had more worries about, because I was seeing just a lack of peaks, and I was seeing, like, in a way, I felt like Mazinho might have been the least valuable player on Mongols, which is very weird to say. Like, for the spring season, like, you had a lot of value out of Blitz, Senzu, and 910, and then Techno. It's like you had the clutches, you had all of this, and you had a lot of intangible stuff. And realistically, when Senzu and 910 are working as well as they should, you don't really need that much output out of Techno. Mazinho is the guy where, like, I still need to see a bit of output out of him. I still need to see a bit of stuff to come from him, because otherwise he's just going to look like Magix, and that's, you know, or worse even, and that's a bit for me. So, but it's good. Like, so far in Cologne, it's looking good for him. An off game against Falcons, sure, but he's doing good work against 3D Max, and I expect him to do better this season than he did last year. I think we talked about this, how we basically have teenagers playing. Mazzino is still the youngest guy on this team, I think.
Yeah, if he was before, it wouldn't have changed.
No, but I mean, yeah. I didn't know if he was. That's what I mean.
Like, no, he is. He is like, the youngest. Yeah. He is the baby of the team. On a pretty young team, he is the baby of the team, I believe.
Yeah, but even then, like he came into this team when he was like 15. Like they signed him on when he was 15. At that point it might have been IHC even, but yeah, when they picked up him in 9-10. So for him, this is probably, he's the guy who's gonna suffer the most when you play big stages, and yeah. So for that, I'm happy. Techno, if we can get more output out of Techno as well. Techno, the thing about Techno is that he is cracked as shit. Like you talk about any pro. You talk to any pro who's played Mongolz, they're gonna say something which you don't really see is the fact that Techno is an aim god, possibly the best aimer on Mongolz. It's just that, like, that's what they're gonna say. Like you get no, but if I've heard pros say this.
Best aimer. Spare me the best.
I've heard pros say this. He's very sharp.
Pros say a lot of things. Really. If he was that sharp,
but like when you're playing against him, you feel the most egregious frags. The most egregious deaths you take when you play against Mongolz, they come against Techno, because he just hits an insane shot, an insane peak, but he does it once in a game. Like that's the thing. So
yeah, his 0.56 KPR real hits. It's real hard the one time it actually hits you. Like, let's be clear.
The one time it actually hits you, yeah.
He is underperforming, even target rating. He's underperforming by every comparison I've been looking up in the background. Like, it's not just his rating's been poor. He's just been underperforming, even relative to his roles. I don't think it should be something we just ignore, that Techno was bad. Like, I don't care how many 1v2s or 1v1s, well, 1v2s doesn't win that many off, how many 1v1s he cleans up. Overall, he's just been bad. Like, his target rating, according to Nero, should be around 1.03 on CT side, he's below it. Should be 0.98 on T side, he's below it. According to Skybox Edge in full buys, he should be around a 1.06, he's 0.89, like in their interpretation of rating 2.0. Every stat has him well below where he should be. So I don't think it's unreasonable to call him out for that. It was a massive problem at times. And at times it's not even just, he doesn't get an opportunity. It's, no, he tries to force an opportunity and fails. Like, the number of times you see him trying to fuck around with smokes, trying to push the smokes, trying to make plays that aren't there and then just dying was a problem. And I think that I don't think there's anything in his play that necessarily outbalances that, like brings it back into reasonable, like, sort of expectation or reasonable, like, performance. Like, it's not something he's doing secretly that magically makes it okay for him to be a bum. Like, he's been a bum in a lot of series.
I'm not going to give him that much credit for it. It's more so that, like, he is one of the better aimers on Mongolz for sure, maybe even the best. And if we can get more output out of him, he can do it. Like, if there's more, he's got the aim to support it. So, like, if he can start playing those other things, like he doesn't force the same fights, he takes better fights, he's going to deliver in that, and he's going to win those fights. He's going to win straight 1-to-1 duels if he can set them up for himself. So that I'm happy about that. Like, I have no doubt that he can do it if it ends up, if he starts actually playing it properly. I still think his clutching is insanely valuable. Like, I still think that is insanely valuable to the team.
I think if someone who's been performing as poorly as him can win so many valuable clutches, so could someone else. Let's just put it that way. So could someone who actually hits the shots more than just occasionally in a clutch.
I think that just kind of shows, like, how good he can be, like how much output he can have in those straight duels, because most of the time that is a straight duel, that is a straight one-on-one, and he's playing for himself alone, and he wins it 2/3 of the time, like 60, like, yeah, that's a lot better than a lot of other players. So for that, I think that just kind of shows that, like, you don't have a lot of else to work with other than raw aim at that point, and you're going to take a straight one-on-one and he wins it. That's the kind of advantage that you would see out of Elige has that same thing where, like, if you put him in a one-on-one, he's going to win the one-on-one. But yeah.
Well, until CS is 1v1 only.
It isn't. That's the thing. He needs more stuff as well.
Critical.
He needs more stuff as well. He definitely still needs other things as well. He's not perfect, but he's got a foundation that a lot of other players who are dropping 0.92s, a lot of other players who drop 0.92s, we're talking about Snow, they don't have that same sort of foundation that I feel like Techno has. So make things work, and Techno's gonna make it work. It's not like Techno's a lost cause here. That's the thing. Like, I feel like there's stuff to squeeze out of him. Unlike a player like Snow, who I feel like you're not bringing that stuff out of him. It doesn't exist.
Maybe, but I'm going to call him shit anyway.
Hmm.
Next, Makazze has debuted with NAVI. And has he fixed them? Has he fixed them? Because more importantly, it's not so much just his level, because his numbers seem okay. It's more that all of a sudden, also, the entire team had a good series. You're like, oh, we beat FaZe and we did it with a bunch of players fragging out. Now I'm a bit obviously dubious of this. This is my own subtitle, but that's how you have to phrase this. You have to start this off with: is it fixed? Really? Like, it may on the surface appear like he's fixed them, but realistically, they beat FaZe 2-1. We got a strong bit. What do you expect to see from NAVI going forward if this is true?
So far it's just the one game. I don't feel like I see them beating Mouse, even if this is quote-unquote true. It's a pretty stacked lower bracket, pretty much no matter what happens. I think if this is true, NAVI should probably make it out of this lower bracket, I feel like. Because you have Aurora Spirit as the other upper bracket game. And I think you're ending up with probably Aurora in that lower bracket, especially with Xantares missing. So you end up with and then you end up with either Liquid or FaZe. I could take that either way. I feel like both teams are below par at the moment, so you're ending up with Aurora and Liquid FaZe. Both of those teams I feel like NAVI should take care of in the lower bracket when they end up in that lower final. I think that's making playoffs tells me that NAVI have at least improved. And they would do that before as well. That's the thing. They would do, but this is a much tougher bracket than they would usually have in that case. So for that, I would say like if they can consistently bring it to teams like Aurora, teams like Liquid, teams like Spirit, that's a very good start. Then we end up in playoffs and we're probably looking at playing, like the way it's looking, you're probably playing Vitality, Mongolz, or Falcons in that quarterfinal. Probably Mongolz or Falcons. And even with this, I guess a win over Falcons would be like, yeah, okay, NAVI works now. Because Falcons also have like a new youngster coming into the team. But if you can beat them with Makazze on the team, then I think that's you're above, like you're below par or above par rather. You've played better than the expectation, I think. But playoffs is the bare minimum. If they end up losing out in this lower bracket with like a FaZe rematch or maybe Aurora make it through instead without Xantares, I do feel like it hasn't moved the needle and NAVI are not doing much. There's more nuance to it, which I'll be looking out for, but it's more like on the face of it, no. I feel like that would be a failure, straight up.
Yeah, so my main concern with trying to assess this is that for me, a lot of people, when I say NAVI are fixed or NAVI have, corrected from a pretty steep downturn, they'd expect them to return to the form they had last year, where they made a bunch of finals. They won Team of the Year. It's a whole other conversation. Weak year, just a weak year. It would be, I don't think it'd be correct to expect that from them, as in them being fixed, is that they're now a grand final team. They're now making those kinds of runs consistently. For me, they are fixed if they are simply in the conversation for top 4. Like if you're a top 4 team with this NAVI, without a true superstar, with, essentially a team that wins by out-positioning and out-thinking their opponents quite often more than they do raw aiming them, that'd be a huge improvement. For them to return to top 4 level, shows that Blade and Lexi are on the same page again. They've got the team ticking. They've got, they're playing the CS they should be playing. That'll be a return to a fixed NAVI, a competently played NAVI. The Mouse series, I expect them to lose, just given, recent performances. But it'd be huge if they won that. That's one way to make playoffs. I agree with you on the general concept that they need to make playoffs here for us to be like, oh, they're back. Oh, they've fixed something. Or they've addressed their issues.
Yeah.
And they lose to Mouse. They then have to play, I'd assume they end up playing Aurora in that lower final. Obviously, not even making the lower final is a different indictment. But playing Aurora in that lower final, that's, again, a big test. As you said, no Xantares. It's xFloud. And xFloud, we like him. We've said he got better towards the end of Heroic, but he's not Xantares, and you're probably facing, based on how Aurora played against an IP, you've got to be afraid of Wakardia, you've got to be afraid of Woxic. Jota might hit you with his spooky 0.99 Rookie of the Year numbers. There is minimal danger relative to what there usually is in this Aurora side. That's not to say none, because again, Wicardia is really good. Woxix had a strong start, but this should be a team you take care of. They are very single-faceted when it comes to their calling and their playstyle. You should be able to dismantle them. You are Navi, and you've got the tape on these guys. Typically, there's nothing new they're going to throw at you. We've been waiting for it for a while. They don't magically turn their strat book into something special overnight. They haven't managed it so far. Why would we expect them to do it now? So, yes, for me, it has to be minimum playoffs for it to be an acceptable result. Doesn't by itself mean they've reached that level of fixed, but certainly it's a better start. I think beating this phase, even if it is in 3 maps, getting a Makazze performance that's solid, to be honest. I think Ancient at one point, he was top fragging. I think, it fell off when they changed halves. Like at halftime, it changed around, but he's so far looked like Makazze, and that's something that also concerned me. Prior to this sort of game playing, I was thinking maybe we wouldn't get Makazze playing like himself, a bit more combative, challenging the other team, going for a lot of duels, being the bruising sort of, not necessarily just pure entry player, but just a hard fragger in the way he was in the junior side. But he has been taking openings. He has been delivering firepower. He's been Makazze. And that's a positive sign, I think, that Blade and Alexi have understood exactly what they signed up for. We're cutting at one of our support players, realistically. One of our players who does more anchors, more lurks, plays in the pack when it's needed, just kind of fills in. And we're taking a guy you need to put him out there. You need to let him go out and challenge the other team. And he's going to thrive. So far, so good. That's all I can give him for now, but we've set the expectations. At this point, we expect them to be fixed, to be back on track. We know what we need. We need to see top 4 contention. And if they don't make playoffs, we're going to be sad.
Yep. That's what I'm feeling like. They should make playoffs here. There's a lot of weekend side. As much as this lower bracket is stacked, it's still...
They're in the weaker
every
group,
side
is kind of the feeling Maui and I had talking about these two things. I mean, on one group you have Vitality, Falcons, Mongolz. You do also then have some of the tougher teams like G2, Furia, GamerLegion. It's quite tough to see, to plan your path out. Whereas on this half, you have Maus and you have Spirit, but then everyone else is kind of frail. Because not only you have Aurora, in theory Aurora should be a top team, and you're like, oh, this is a tough competitive group. But Aurora have a stand-in, and Aurora have also been on the way.
Yeah.
This is the easier
That's what
group.
I mean. Pretty much everybody, you have Aurora, you have Liquid, you have FaZe. All 3 of those, I feel like, should be a lot better than they are. So, and that's still a danger, because occasionally you're just gonna get that sort of miracle performance out of players like this. I feel like there's a much bigger risk that you get a top 5 level performance out of this FaZe team randomly than it is you get out of an NIP or an Heroic. And it's things might just randomly click into place, and a lot of the time you get that when you get top team versus top team performance, nowhere near enough where you turns them into a good team, but it just randomly happens. It's like one of those where the 7th best team in the world, as soon as they play number 1, just because they feel like it's this is the big game, that's when you're going to get big performances out of a Liege, out of a player like that. And it's so it runs the risk of seeing an upset there. I'm more worried about an upset there than I am against, and like I said, an NIP or an Heroic. But they should make it out. Every single side is weaker. Navi are definitely stronger than all 3 of them. So yeah,
currently especially. We can talk about it one day, some point, seeing them match up with NIP or Heroic being contested, a close one. That should be it's one we're going to root for the upset always, because we're fans of the teams. But realistically, when we're being analytical, we should say Navi take the win 9 times out of 10. That's the rub of it, I think, with Navi. And I think the final team I really need to talk about, that needs to get this off my chest, is, man, GamerLegion, why'd you do this to me, man? How do you make me... Firstly, you made me look silly. Because I picked you. There's a chance the team makes the run. And they didn't even beat 3D Max. Yo, what the fuck? You can lose that opening game to Falcons. That's fine. That part didn't bother me. But to go into the 3D Max series, just let it go. They just let it go. They could have won that game several times over. But there are several key moments where they just let it slip. And 3D Max, they're going to take it every time. they've got players who can win rounds, go out there and really, surprise you. But that wasn't that kind of game. They didn't. It's not like 3D Max just got this like unleashed Gravity who can sometimes come in and just like change a series. Because as much as he is like one of the lowest rated players for the year, Gravity has game-winning impact sometimes. Like when he pops off, when he lands his shots, he will devastate defenses. He will completely silence T-sides. That's not what we got. We got a very by-the-book 3D Max, where it's like, a couple solid lurks from Exercise, some playmaking from Maka that this time came off, and lucky trading. You got pretty much the standard fare from 3D Max, and which couldn't make it happen on the side of GamerLegion. That Inferno, that Dust 2, just brutal. Brutal.
I'm just wondering what you would have gotten out of this game if there was Fuzi instead of Kersey. Because it is like you could have had. It's the fact that you said earlier. I said GamerLegion have a weakness in a weak opera. They have Kersey, and then you said yeah, but they also had a weakness with Slend, and they were still winning. Yeah, you didn't need to have that weakness. Like there's candidates.
Well, you could have. I'm not saying otherwise. I'm just saying like when I'm assessing 3D Max's chances, GamerLegion's chances. I don't start with man. If only I had an AWP. It's like first, it's no. The game plan, those two core riflers. That's always going to be the what they've been leaning on. That's what worked. So it's not like that's my priority. I agree you can get more out of your AWPer. That's why I hoped they'd make an AWP change. The fact they've ended up with Kersey and he had a strong overpass. We can't overlook that. But yeah, Usesh has a strong Dust too. Like statistically, didn't feel that crazy at the time. But more importantly, Dust 2 just felt like I didn't get the PR I wanted. I didn't get the res I needed. That's more where the game was lost. But no, as Kersey's he's not been dreadful, but he's had some weaker maps during this GamerLegion run, and overall his numbers actually don't flatter him. Lord, I hadn't checked his overall stats, but
he doesn't excite me. He doesn't excite me. Like I feel like he's getting a bare minimum, and he's getting a solid level out of it, but it doesn't look good, and it doesn't look.
Well, his actual level so 1.01.
Like Kersey's winning the game.
It's pretty bad.
It doesn't look like he's winning the game. Like, it doesn't look like he's doing his job. And it's not just like, oh, he's not flashy. I don't care about that. It doesn't look like he's having as much impact as the numbers would suggest. And that I think is boring. And sad, because you could have had a player who was definitely getting more impact than the numbers are showing. But you didn't. And, let him go into it. Maybe that's coming down the line. But for this event, no. I think that's one of the sad things. That we're not getting that, not really getting that out of him. What did he have?
Yeah, I felt like. Look, I said it at the time when the rumor was first circling. Before the confirmation of the move, it's just a rumor. I said that Kersey to me didn't. When it came to Kersey, I hadn't watched a whole lot of him specifically. Mm-hmm. It's just the few glimpses I had. I wasn't moved. I wasn't stunned, but I put my faith in the move. Like proving me wrong. During stage 1, you could argue, sure, he's basically not dying a lot, but he's getting enough kills. And when I was watching the games, I was like, yeah, Kersey's having moments. But stage 2, yeah, so far, it's overall not been great. The game against Falcons, I think he had a few absolute stinker rounds on the AWP, where he's just missing sitters. Or he's being forced to rotate around a lot more. He's just struggling to set up and shoot in the more novel positions he has to find himself in. That was just a weird thing to watch. But I think the tail of the tape, really, the 3D Max loss, I don't blame Kersey. I can't blame Kersey.
I have
to look at the entire team just choking away 2 maps that they should have won. They should have won Inferno, then they should have won Dust 2.
I can't blame Kersey. I just think it's a shame. I'm not even sure you would have been in this situation if you wouldn't have been on that third map if you just had something better. Anyway, I can't blame Kersey. It's just a bit sad, and I feel like it's going to stunt the growth of this team, which could have been a very solid top 10 side, a top 10 side without question. But it's probably just not gonna be. I just don't feel that way. About the result, they should have been 3 max. It's sort of the similar story then after that, where it's like you're running into a G2, which is probably winnable. I don't see playoffs coming out of this. because you had a very stacked group. You had a very top-heavy group. Somebody was going to have to end up in this lower bracket, and GamerLegion, it would have been a big upset, and I wouldn't have expected that out of them. It could have happened, but it's like you're going to run into a Falcons, you're going to run into a G2, you're going to run into a Mongolz. Even a Furia, I feel like, might be a tall order for GamerLegion at the moment. But so I didn't really see playoffs coming out of them. But let's see. Even if they did, they have the biggest stage nerves at the moment, so would it have mattered?
I could have seen them coming out of this. Look, beating 3D Max, doable. Beating G2, I think tough, but doable. Then you play a lower final where you're likely facing Falcons. And look, it's a rematch. It's a team who have still some vulnerabilities. I mean, we've seen, firstly, there's been some egregious kicksand baiting of Tesses, but there's also just been some Tesses underperformances. Like, there's places on this roster you can find holes. You can find ways to beat them. You can rematch on Nuke. And Nuke, for example, is a game where I see they didn't really push too hard on the pressure point that every Nico team has, which is Nico wants to challenge you when you cross outside. If the moment he challenges you, he has to see 3 people, he's not going to kill 3 people. It's how Saw beat G2 a while ago at I think a Cologne on Nuke. It's a way you can challenge him. There have been tricks they could have actually used, like bits of prep they could have unleashed in that sort of rematch, but they never even got that far, and that's why for me they were a great disappointment. And I hope to see way more. I hoped to see way more out of this GamerLegion. It's just so far not been that. What do they have next? What do they have coming up? I mean, if they're getting invites, they're high enough rated.
Esports World Cup is coming up next.
Oh, for them,
okay.
Not playing until the World Cup. Okay.
I don't think there's anything in between there. Or maybe there's Blast Bounty. I guess they skipped that.
There's Blast Bounty, which is something, but yeah.
They skipped it. GamerLegion skipped it, yeah.
Yeah, they had the choice. They could have been there, but they're not.
Yeah, but they chose to skip it, which is okay. But I did see a lot of people. I did see Messi also say that Bounty is. People saying, "Why didn't you take Bounty? It's easy VRS points." It's actually horrible VRS points because it's online. It's like a top team attending Blast Bounty at the moment is probably going to be a net loss in VRS points. Like there's no reason for Vitality or Mouse to be here, aside from like the frequent flyer things. So, yeah.
The frequent flyer.
They have that thing. I don't know. It's more money, is it not? Like it's something like that, and that's better in the long run. But it's like they call it that. They call it the frequent flyer program. That's
funny. That's just funny. But yeah, let's move on. We have the small site retakes. Mine is actually sort of members/viewers focused. It's weird, but yeah, basically it's sort of an announcement, sort of a promise, bit of both. So I do streams at least twice a week. They're usually just live demo review, chilling, chatting. So there's going to be a new structure to this whole thing, because I feel like I could be getting more out of it. Everyone else could be getting more out of it. This is going to be more of it's going to be more structured like videos are. So I'm going to be opening in a live stream setting with me sitting, talking. We're going to be talking about the player to come, maybe some general takes about what's going on. There's always going to be CS on in the background because of the Cologne thing. And then we're going to do a more condensed approach to watching demos. We're going to jump to specific rounds, talk about specific tendencies that the players we're talking about display, especially when it comes to prospects of the week. I feel like we could be getting a lot more out of that, especially when that's a prospect that I'm picking that I've got a lot of experience with. I could be doing basically half a damn video just live like that. So I feel like there's a lot of benefit to adding a bit of a structure like that to my live streams, especially when on Thursdays we're doing random player breakdowns. Not random, but we're doing certain player VODs. I've got some good stuff prepped. There's some interesting demos to watch, some interesting analysis to have, rather than doing it all live and just trying to stay focused, whilst also sometimes a full demo can get boring. We're going to try and condense it, try and get more specific, and then the VODs also will have more value. So that's just a bit of an announcement, bit of a promise, just something to discuss, I think, quickly before we move on to more news from this last week.
Yeah, good stuff. They're fun to watch. Go watch T streams. Can I do my thing?
Yeah, we got another little game.
Right.
Quack's got a little game to play.
Another little game. I'm gonna keep pushing this until we make it a full segment. Avoid saying the same thing as me. Again, Counter-Strike Edition. This is number 2, and this is one I prepped a while ago. So again, to remind you, I have 6 questions if you're playing along at home. And I have pre-prepped answers for myself. But what you Kingt and the viewer need to do is to answer these questions or these statements without saying the same thing as me. So 6 questions. First one is pretty easy. Last one is going to be pretty tough. Number 1, name a team with a green logo.
The green logo.
Yeah, there's not too many. Like I looked through and I've gone very far down the rankings.
Current or historic? Can I go historic?
Historic is fine. Historic is fine.
Okay. All right. Should I say my answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Singularity.
Good. They were on my list, but I had Flipside. Flipside was the first one I thought of. But there's only a couple, like Falcons currently, Imperial currently, BC Game, FlyQuest. But then you kind of have to go down and you have to find like Verdant 777. Like you have to find teams like this. Yeah. Right. Good job. Name a team Kerrigan has played for.
Has played for.
And here, I'm talking. He was on a team with an org. Could be a briefer or like a loan thing. That's fine. But like, I'm not. There's a couple. I think he's had the odd orgless team, and I'm not counting those.
Okay. Trying to remember what point he's on this team. Okay, he's on that team twice. That makes it more obvious. Okay.
Go ahead.
TSM.
Good. I had Envy because I was trying to snipe the odd pick, the brief loan stint to Envy. He had a bunch of teams. I'll read them out in case you're playing at home. Mouse Fnatic, Playing Ducks is an org apparently. N Faculty, Recent Gaming, Copenhagen Wolves, Dignitas, TSM, Astralis, FaZe.
He was on Envy. Copenhagen Wolves. I had that one in my head, but I was like,
he was.
I wasn't sure about it, so I didn't say it.
Yep. All right. Next up, name a player who played in 2 different continents.
He's played on 2 different continents.
And I don't just mean that they played on an event in different continents. Like it's not just
Astralis went to
IM
a
Sydney.
team in that on that continent.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Regali.
Yep. Nice. I had Fuzi. He's played in 3 different continents actually. But
he's Mr. Worldwide, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, the real Mr. Worldwide. The one I would have picked up if I was answering this question myself is Fates. You might remember.
He's played with everyone. Like
he's played. It's ridiculous to me, but I think he's played with more than half of the countries in the world. He has that as a teammate, which is wild to say. Number 4, name a major event.
A major event.
Any major.
Oh, any major throughout the history of majors.
Yeah, but like an event, like a whole. Yeah.
Okay, DreamHack Winter 2013.
Nice. PGL Stockholm. That's what I had. You're 4 for 4 at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to get harder as you go along, so I'd hope that's be 4 for 4 to start.
Yeah, this is a tougher one. Name a graffiti awarded clip.
Oh, okay. There's a few. There's not that many. I also have to remember them all, which is more the problem. Is there one for that? I don't think Happy with 1D has a graffiti, or had, because most of them have been erased by the graffiti removal.
Yeah, they don't need to exist currently because I think all of them are gone, to be honest. But
okay.
any graffiti awarded clip, yeah.
The only 3 I can remember are the 3 most famous ones, so I think you're going to have picked one of them. Give me Olaf Meister dancing in the flames.
Ooh, you've worded it differently, but I think you've picked the same one as me. I wrote down Olaf Meister's Sit and Burn.
Fuck! Yeah, that's the same one.
Yeah,
it was that, or the jumping double, or the falling no scope. Like those are the 3 I remembered. Those are the 3 most obvious and most iconic, I feel like.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, all of my cinema. That's what Pansy is screaming in that clip. I think all of my sit and burn, sit and burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's the overpass graffiti.
Overpass defuse. Yeah, I'll list them out for you because I found a full list on Wikipedia. So Cold Zero's jumping off shots, all of Meister diffuse on Inferno, on overpass, all of Meister's boost. It's not a graffiti, but it's a sign, and I'm counting that. Like
signs count? That's not.
Were you gonna pick?
Me.
Were you gonna pick all of?
No, I mean, one of the ones I considered was Freiburg's rename of the Inferno lane. Like, it's named after him.
Oh, but that I won't count because that's not a play. That's just like that's not one play.
Yeah, but
that's just in general.
It's not one boost. It's a series of boosts. Like they're all. But he did it one round.
Once.
Like, yeah, and Freiburg's in Banana more than once. Like that's the same logic.
Yeah, in many different games.
That's the same logic. But anyway, I'm ignoring that sort of thing. That can't count as graffiti.
Doja Grenade.
Oh really? Okay.
It got a poster on Inferno. It's like a poster thing, but it's on there. Fanatics 4 Ops on Dust 2.
Yes, I should remember that one. Made me so mad. Or sad, really, at the time, because I was an Envy fan. Yep.
Yep. And I'm not counting a Go's show match victory in Danger Zone.
No, you shouldn't.
Yep.
Okay, so there really weren't that many to pick from. Man, I really didn't think I didn't think you'd pick the Olofmas one. I thought you'd pick, like, you know, because Simple's such a big deal. And I thought maybe we'd talked about Cold Zero briefly not too long ago. I was like, maybe you'd have tried to catch me on the recency thing, but fuck.
Yep. So you're 4 out of 5, and here's the final one. This is hard. As far as I've found, there's only 4 players to pick from here. Name a player who has won majors with 2 separate teams and cores.
Separate
two
teams
separate
and
orgs
cores.
and cores. And it could be the same 2 majors, but like there can't be it can't be the same org, can't be the same core.
So
and it could be
is core 3 other players or 3 players including
core 3
themselves?
other players. Core 3 other players. Well, yeah, I guess it would have to be. Yeah, it couldn't include themselves.
Okay, so for example, Flusher don't count.
Flusher does not count, no. I wrote
Same
down which
org
ones
anyway,
I don't count. Yeah, so JW, Pronax, and Flusher, they don't count because they only won it with Fnatic.
Yeah.
Bits doesn't count because he only won it with Navi.
Yeah.
Zaiwu doesn't count, he only won it with Vitality, even if it's 2 different Vitality teams.
Yeah.
The Brazilian majors, they won it with 2 orgs, but it's the same roster.
Yeah, I know.
And also Happy, NBK, Kiyoshima only won it with the same core. It's the same core. That's that core 3 players, but they only made 2 roster changes and won 2 different majors with LDLC and Envy.
Okay.
You have 4 options.
I don't believe I have. I mean, I have Dupree, Magisk. I'm trying to think of the other 2. There's probably no, Zeus only has 1.
He would have counted if it said major finals. There's a surprising amount of major finalists who have done it with 2 different cores.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who the other ones are. Is there another Dane? No. Is there another Frog? No. I'm just going to go on a coin flip. I'm going to say Magisk.
That is a valid answer. Because
I
I
know it's
had
valid,
the one you're
but
forgetting about.
Is it correct? Would I have won? Is what I'm asking.
Yes, you would have won. You would have won.
Good.
I had the one you didn't think about, which is Rops.
Oh, of course, your little favorite. Your little
Phase and Vitality. Phase and Vitality, yeah.
Yeah, but who's the 4th?
Oh, Apex.
Oh, right, yes, because he won it with Vitality, yes. He won it with Vitality and with the French, yeah. So there wasn't a Frog. There was a Frog.
You did it with 3 cores even, actually. Because there's 3 roster changes between Paris and Austin, but then he also did it with Envy back in the day.
Yeah, he did it with Envy. Well, he also won with. No, he didn't win with that LDLC, did he?
No, he was one of the roster changes. It was him and Kenny.
Yeah, that LDLC team, man. Everyone talks about MBK Kingmaker, but no one talks about Kyo, man.
Yeah, he's a 2-time major champion.
He's a 2-time major champion, and he's top 20 players of the year 2014. He's 19.
I think out of that roster, aside from Happy, who retired, but he also played Valorant. Like he still had a successful career for a bit longer, and he also retired basically from Vitality. I think he played with LDLC for a bit after that, but he basically retired from Vitality, which was like a top team. Or tier 1 team anyway. Kiyoshima is probably the one who was the first one to get really hard done by out of that team, because he ends up playing out his career at like Heretics, and it's so ass.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't that good outside of French teams is the problem. Even on FaZe he was just fine, and then he got replaced and it kind of made sense. Envy, I mean the very pettily named Left Out was something. But on Heretics, yeah, I mean, look, he took that dive down to the lower levels, and he wasn't exactly farming. Like he just wasn't there.
No.
Like he just wasn't that good. It's a shame. I mean, Heretics has some culture to it, like Devil, Python, like damn, some of the most iconic, terrible French players. But he's included in that.
Yeah, Biggie was coaching them as well when he got coach banned.
All right, next segment
that was the game.
The Quacker Classic, the one that I never see coming and then find out it's usually something very dumb. It is everyone's favourite Cock of the week. There goes the cock. Let's talk about it. Who's been nominated, chosen this time?
The link is a link to a Nort Outta Here tweet, but he is not actually the cock of this week. It is his reply section. If you click the link in the document, you are going to see a clip of Brokey turning into a blender, spinning very rapidly in a game against Astralis, captured in a demo. And the reason why I've included this reply section here is because there is a lot of people who seem to have not watched the game since 2015 and are saying he's flusher. So I'm just going to read out a couple. Because this is very obviously like an issue with the mouse. If you get like a hair on your mouse sensor, or like apparently this is very common with the Superlight 2, which is the most common pro mouse, I think, the Logitech Superlight. But I'll just read out a couple. So here's one from Hysin. Obviously, he just found an infinite long mouse pad, bro. Nothing to see here. There are no macros or AI stuff that pros abuse. Wink. Trust me, bro. So that's that is an accusation of cheating against Brokey in 2025. Here's another one from OJ. Okay, but I own a Superlight and I never had this issue. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the second time since CS2 this has happened to Brokey. Why is this happening to Brokey so much? Cue the X-File music. This one legitimately just funny. How does a dude with a shaved head get a hair on his sensor?
That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's from Easter Egg. Genuinely check his PC. What the fuck?
This is such a nothing burger. Like, why? What do they think we're finding? What do they think this is? Like, seriously, his crosshair spins and looks up.
It's from Shinderu CS. When the DMA cheats don't know how to handle being flashed. Jesus Christ! Yeah, this is.
It's the standard CS community waffle. Like, it's nothing.
It's insane that there's people who legitimately think that this is a cheating thing. This is a spin bot in a professional game malfunctioning, accidentally activating in a professional game. You people are stupid. You people are very dumb.
It's always this sort of bullshit. Like, I can't. Like, I see the clip. I assume something's either wrong with his mouse or he hit a sensitivity clutch. Then you see how the spinning speed. You're like, okay, this is just a sensor problem. Like, because there's no way you can move your mouse that consistently for that long. But at the same time, it is exactly something that would happen if your sensor freaks out, thinks something's happening, and just spins. So yeah, I'm entirely unmoved. This is a big nothing burger.
Some people seem to think it's legitimate cheating at a tier 1 pro level. What game would this have been? I don't know exactly when. Did they play Astralis recently? I don't think they did. Probably a pretty old demo as well. I don't know why North was watching this.
I don't know.
Anyway,
find a new flashbang. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Is that why he watches demos?
Yeah.
Astralis require all teams. The last time they played was Bucharest.
And I played Inferno the last time in February.
So yeah.
February was the last time. Yeah. All right.
February.
Now we know Brokey's hardware cheating in tier 1 events.
Yeah. Just to go 6 and 14.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
I do. Well,
see, that's people wouldn't notice if you did it when you go 6 and 14.
Yeah, man. That's why you cheat.
Does that so people don't notice.
You cheat just so that people don't notice you're cheating. You don't cheat to win. You cheat so people don't notice.
If he gets good stats, people are going to ask questions. That's the thing.
Yeah, so he has to cheat for no reason. Literally, at the end of the day, the conclusion is he's cheating for no reason. Double side note. Speaking of cock of the week, no, Serbia, you have not constructed Exodia in your Eurobasket squad. I'm sorry. The fuck do you mean? Ridiculous. Like, sorry. I opened Twitter. Like, I hit home on Twitter after, having been on that link, and I just saw Yanko retweeted some bullshit from Eurobasket, and I'm like, that is not Exodia. Oh. It's just a good European team. With one goated player. Like,
oh, I see, yeah. I don't know anything about basketball, so I just googled Serbia Exodia Eurobasket squad. Didn't get any results.
Yeah, it's just something Yanko retweeted from the FIBA Eurobasket account. Like, it's ridiculous hyperbole, but okay. Back to the real talk. We do have to do what we do every week, and that is... Oh, make it sound like such a drag, but it's usually pretty fun. I usually get the shit on rosters. It's the Eternal Shuffle. And honestly, I sometimes review my grades. Not religiously, but occasionally. And I'm like, I'm usually right. I'm usually right. Most of these moves are utter wank and forgettable.
Yep.
All right, hang on.
We're going to start off with one which...
I need to really try today.
Yeah.
Also, a very loud motorbike. So I need to put my glasses on. Let me just... Let me look smarter.
Just the $1,500 Cartier frames.
Yes, that's what they are. Look at that. Look at that brand right there. Oh, wait, no. Oh, yeah, no. There's no brand. Mine are fucking Specsaver's own brand. Fucking £30 frames, because I am not retarded. And I mean that in all sincerity. If you buy branded glasses frames, you are moronic and a mark, really. You deserve every single bit of brokenness that comes with it. Anyway. Cock of the week. Let's get into it.
First up, this is actually moronic. Susp has requested to explore his options in Europe, and is benched on wildcard. So they've temporarily re-added Stanislaw into the team.
This is I just can't be asked with wildcard anymore.
It is purely moronic because at this point they have two players who are out. I think Stanislaw himself also requested to leave the team. Like he actively explored his options before he was benched. So they have two players now who want out of the team, have been exploring options, but are forced to stay to maintain the VRS. And to one other player they have decided to bench, and the other player who himself decided to leave. And I'm just really looking forward to the opportunity I get to do an interview with Susp where he can talk about all of this. So stay tuned. It's going to be on Fragment at some point.
So what was happening?
Yes.
That's going to be the first question, yeah. I know this is obviously a grade, like, I mean, a C for clown show. Not a real C, a clown show C. Sorry, wildcard, you don't know what you're doing. You're just flailing at this point.
Yeah, it's pure bullshit. I don't even know if Stan is coming back to call because Sonic... I was wrong about friend calling. Apparently it was Sonic who was taking over the call. Somebody lied to me. I don't know who. I did. That was legitimately said. But that's... yeah. They're not even playing that much. Their ranking is way out of the dumps. They don't even have anything they're invited to right now. They're down to 50 on the world ranking.
Yeah.
So... They're playing. They lost today, I think, or the other day. They lost in one of these really events where they really shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, they lost to Blue Jays and Prize Picks NA Revival Series 7. Yeah, they got juniored. I guess they didn't throw.
They absolutely got juniored. Yeah, Jesus, my God. Okay, yeah. No, this is bad. Next up, ENS have cut their in-game leader Glaive, and they've added Rigon. And SDY takes over the calling.
I don't get it. I really don't. I don't get it. Like, I don't think Glaive did a bad job on the Sens roster, considering who he was working with. Like, I think he's done pretty well. So, no, I don't understand this at all. Good luck to you. I don't see Rigon as a viable addition in Tier 1 in 2025. Not really that convinced by SDY's calling. Maybe it's as good a time as any to have him take over. But this is not going to get much better. I don't think this is a team that's going to magically improve off the back of this.
I think the good thing with SDY calling is that he is quite competent at calling around himself. And we've already seen good stuff out of SDY in this roster previously, so maybe we can get an even better level out of him. But I don't see any huge strides being taken by making this move. It's not like Rigon is going to bring a lot of star power. It's not like Rigon is going to bring... like again, I think I said this pre-show, if you made this move happen 2 years ago in 2023, when SDY was calling a Monty team to major playoffs and he was calling them to like challenger level trophies, which is what ENS are going to have to compete for right now. If it was at that time, and especially when Rigon was really good on Bad News Bears, like when he was putting up good numbers on Bad News Bears, if it was made in that time, I'd believe it. That's fine. But now it's like Rigon he's had a lot of attempts at good teams and it hasn't worked out. Primarily in big, it didn't really work out. And SDY is quite far out of the calling game, so I'm not sure what to think about this. Add to that, you still have Pody, who's, in my opinion, subpar. I think you could do better than Pody. He hasn't really delivered. And you also have Miltzy, who I think is good, but I'm not sure he's going to be good at this level. So there's a lot of question marks here, and I don't feel like ENCE are moving in the right direction with this move. So unfortunate for them.
Yeah, this is not a very powerful roster right now. Like, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be very good.
Betboom have confirmed the signing of Art Frost, and they've also benched Axile and picked up Diledes.
Yeah, I don't see the... I like the Art Frost move. If I have to grade that separately, I'd probably give it an A. Like, Zorti was just floundering. Bringing in Art Frost and immediately seeing him play really well, I think, yeah, it's a no-brainer. You have to keep him. But the whole Diledes for Axile part of this, I'm not too sold on this move. Like, it's not that I don't think Diledes is a good player. I just don't think it magically solves your problems. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know. I'll still give it like a B+. I still think it's a strong move. I still like the idea of taking a risk on Diledes. He's been benched for a while. He was really strong when he was playing. There's potential, but just worried about if this is that much better.
I don't think it is. I'm just gonna say that Axile is doing nothing here. Axile was very much not doing much on this team. And so for that reason, I feel like replacing him, it can't be a bad move. It's just that how much do you expect out of Diledes? And that's up to interpretation, I guess. I think he's talented. And I think this team has brought out a pretty good level out of players like Mayonnaise, who's also very talented. Even Siren is putting up a pretty solid level overall for this team. So if you can bring that out of them, who are... I don't know if you would say Diledes is more or less talented. I think less talented than Mayonnaise, more talented than Siren. So you could probably get something out of
far more talented
than
Siren, here. But yeah, he's not quite on he's not quite on the level of Mayonnaise. But no, he's a very competent player. It's just, he's played only at a very relatively low level. He's been on the bench for a while. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to be an immediate burst of results that they're probably aiming for with this kind of move.
Yeah, no, I guess we'll have to see. I like the move in principle, and especially with the Art Frost move as well. I feel like now you have a front two of Mayonnaise and Art Frost, which is already like Zorti was good, but that's already an upgrade, and that's already bringing a lot to the team. So let's see what happens with that. BC Game have cut Cypher, and he's reported to be moving to Fnatic to replace Mattis.
For Fnatic, it's difficult to really see there's no way you upgrade from Mattis is the problem. So I think Cypher's a good risk. Yep. I mean, for BC Game, you're collapsing internally. You're dying. Like, screw it. Yeah, make a move. Cut someone. But Cypher, like, this is probably a great move for him. Fnatic, it's a risk worth taking. It just feels a bit like, you're buying someone who's been hyped and then fallen down, and hyped, and then he's on the wrong project, and hyped, and then this project didn't work out either. You're like, at some point, was he just not good enough? We'll have to find out, but you couldn't do better than Mattis, I don't think.
Cypher's still pretty young. He's still only 22. Like, he's pretty experienced for that, for his age. He's been around on a lot of teams. He's got the shaft quite a few times. Like, he was on that TSM project, which was pretty much doomed from the start because they wouldn't, give Xstats what he wanted. And then he was on Bleed, which was also kind of doomed from the start because they weren't getting paid. And then he was on BC Game, which I also feel like was doomed from the start because this is a team which is never doing anything. But he's also like, he had opportunities to show good stuff in all of those teams and he didn't really do it. So
yeah, I guess moments on Bleed. I think on Bleed is probably his best run since the Into the Breach major run, but it's not that. It wasn't that spectacular. It wasn't what you'd hoped for from a player who's getting all the openings, who's supposed to be hyper talented. Like, he's supposed to do a bit more than what he did on Bleed.
Yeah, but they also showed up on LAN twice, and Cypher did nothing. Because that's one of the things that Cypher really hasn't done ever. It's been that great outside of UK LANs. Because he played on Bleed. He played the major, and he was good there. But that's like, he's still living off of a couple of good series at the major. Where they got upset and they had quite a favorable draw a lot of the time. So how much are you really getting out of him at that point? After that, we'll see. we'll see about that. But maybe Fnatic can bring good stuff out of them. They did trial Volt as well, according to the report. They tried Volt out.
Really? Oh, God.
Yeah, they tried him out, and then they went for
It
Cypher
got
instead.
desperate, bro.
Yeah. I guess they went by like they went on the stats page and went by rating, but they accidentally put it on CS:GO only rather than CS2. The stats filter.
I mean, he's played what this with a mixed team for a bit, Volt, and he's got numbers on that team, but it's not really.
I still think Volt is better than where he is. It's just that like he hasn't really had. He also hasn't shown like his best stuff since leaving GamerLegion to the point where it's like you could have played on a lot more mixed teams. It's the thing, and you could have showed better stuff if you really were that good. But yeah, whatever. 500 have announced the signing of Hampus and DJL as in-game leader and coach, respectively.
Yeah, this time this duo will work. This time, Hampus as an IGL will work. This time, D.
Oh, really?
I'm done. I'm just done. I'm just done with this guy.
All right. I mean, fair point. He's bringing the thing that sort of makes me feel decent about this is that Hampus and Cirque, they played together on Bleed. Cirque wasn't all that good on Bleed, but Hampus spoke very highly of him. Like he did that interview with Thorin at that time. Yep. And they were basically like, what can you tell me about Cirque? And he's like, Cirque is like the hardest working guy I've ever played with. And it's like, they had a really positive dynamic, I think. And then you're also bringing back a coach who worked with Hampus on NIP over a long period of time. Like there's very, very much ups and downs in that NIP stint with Hampus and DJL. But the fact that they're willing to try that again is, at least to me, it feels positive. It feels like you're rehashing old stuff, but you might be doing it for good reasons. So for that, I give them props. I think the rest of the 5-man roster is fine. Like Cirque, Red Star, and Rainbreaker are pretty good. You could have done worse in Bulgaria, but it's a bit. Yeah, I'm also a little bit here and there. I don't think this team is breaking records exactly. So
it's whatever.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Monty have picked up Azuwu and Bimas. So they've already been playing with Bimas for a while, but Azuwu is the guy to complete the roster.
Yeah, so they also at the same time locked Afro in to a contract, which tells me they're still kind of kooky over there. Look, Bimas being locked in he's officially only got he's played some stand-in stuff, but he's not actually played for them since this happened. But it's basically just been locked in because of how well Ryu and Bimas played together for Lithuania, it feels like. Then Azuwu coming in, I think Azuwu's kind of earned another shot. I think during his time on Endpoint, he was solid. Then on Saw, he had some strong maps, and I'm like, yeah, I can still see Azuwu working out. So why not? If you're Monty and, well, not exactly apparently swimming in money, take a risk on a player like this who, hasn't had his breakout yet, but still been fairly high rated, fairly lauded, I guess. A lot of people are a fan of him, so why not try it? And yeah, this isn't a terrible move. I'd probably give it like a B-. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, solid. Speaking of bringing players back from 2021, Cybershock have cut Lovicus and they've added Forrester from Amcal.
I need to remind myself which one Lovicus is. Need to look at him. He's this one. Okay. Because Cybershock's a team where I occasionally interact with them. Like I occasionally see them, occasionally watch a game or two. And yeah, since Glowing came in, this kind of move, probably isn't too much of a shock.
They've played together a fair bit before.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Never mind. They played 3 maps and 1 win. They didn't play a lot together before.
They're not on the same roster at one point?
No, they played. No, I think they had this weird overlap where Forrester was basically replaced by Glowing, I want to say.
Oh, I might be misremembering.
Oh, the other way around. Forrester came in when Glowing and Flamey were exiting. So that was
got it. So more importantly, I was misremembering that as far as who Glowing is to Forrester. But more importantly, look, Lovicus, he doesn't move the needle. It's quite often the takeaway you can have. He's fine, but he's not anything special. And Forrester at least has experience at a higher level. and he's still not completely washed up. I guess you're hoping. I think his AmCal time was poor, very poor. But I think a part of that was just the style of play AmCal had. I think they were just a bad team. And yeah, I mean, remember from Entropic, he was one of the few one of the only riflers on that team who was genuine map winner. So I think this isn't a terrible move. It's just Cybershock, you know, they're low down enough they can take a risk on a player who's not necessarily a superstar in Forrester. So I'll probably give it just a strong C+. Like, it's a pass, but it's barely.
Forrester was really good in the pandemic years with Hard Legion. Moved on to Windstrike, he was still pretty good. Moving on to Entropic, which is where that roster came, he was again very good. And since then, he's kind of just been floating about. Again, pretty good on one win. Started pretty good on MCAL, I remember, but then he really dropped off. And I don't know, you've got to find something new in him again on the Cybershock team, I guess. So yeah, solid move. I like him. But all right, Sinners have gone international by signing Stressarn and KYOUSUKE.
I get why they've gone for KYOUSUKE. I saw his frag run. You know, he played decently. He had some good numbers. The Stressarn move for me was a head scratcher because I hadn't really watched much of him. Like, where was he before this? He played a couple maps with Earlier in 2024. Like, I'd seen the name somewhere, but I'd never really looked into it.
It's just been around mixed teams. Like, he's played the odd thing here and there, and like,
but
Macedonian stuff.
There's not a lot to go off of for Stressarn. This has so far turned out super good, though, because they have played 8 maps. I'm not going to overlook those. They've gone pretty well. Now, they haven't played anyone of significance. They played Rosie and X-Saber, but he's put up stupid numbers. And
they're live at the moment against Zero Tenacity, and they lost overtime on the first map.
Yes, and it wasn't a very strong Stressarn performance. So I get the idea. I know what they're going for. This is a risk.
Yeah.
I'll give him a B, because they weren't doing much from the Risco and Zedco at the end of the day. Those two are pretty mid players. So take a risk on some new blood. I guess it makes sense. KYOUSUKE, yeah, not a bad player from what we've seen so far.
Just an interesting side note about KYOUSUKE is that it sounded in a bunch of interviews like he signed the Sinners deal like on a whim the night after the frag win without telling his teammates. Like, it sounded like it was when you heard the Innocent interviews and you heard the interviews with different people there and you heard the discourse, it did sound like he kind of just like went for it, like like overnight, just decided that that's what he was going to do after winning Philadelphia. So sounds weird. I don't know if that's real, but whatever.
I don't know.
9Z have officially cut Martinez and RMS, and they've added Urbano and Levi.
Yeah,
so
I can't really grade this. I mean, I don't know those guys.
No, can I just say we don't care about 9Z anymore. With this move especially, they're kind of out of it, and I'm not gonna think about them ever again.
Until they're good. If they become good, then obviously you will. But I don't know these players. I'm not able to really judge. They picked up 2 Brazilians. Like, I don't know these Brazilians.
Yeah. No, yeah. No.
There we go. That's all I can say.
Yeah, Martinez moving on to Iberian Soul, which is going to be Gentlemates in short order, according to reports.
Yes, that's the org that's going to pick him up, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think we already talked about this move when it was reported.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Old roster coming together. They've already played over 100 maps, this exact 5, so...
But yeah, that's
cool.
that's the shuffles then, really. Let's get into the final segment of the show. We always finish the show on this. Prospect of the week. It is interesting. I've actually picked KYOUSUKE's teammate from that frag run. I've picked Flay. Young AWPer. Has some insane ratings. I've picked him in part for the privilege of going and watching these demos, having a good reason to. You know, he's put up some crazy stats. I want to go take a look at what he's doing, how the eye test holds up, etc., etc. The Colossi run for him, I mean, it's only 2 events, really, and one of them is still ongoing, but it's been outstanding. And Fragadelphia, I mean, by itself, the win is great. You know, he's farming stats against some teams. They do have a bet-click matchup, which is significant. But the M80 Grand Final, best of 5. He has 4 out of 5 maps in Superstar territory, basically, in terms of his rating. This is a pretty significant thing to have achieved. I'm curious to see how he's playing. I'm gonna admit he's one of the prospects of the week where I'm not actually that familiar with his exact game, but we'll see tomorrow. Demo review, new structure as well. Having our little breakdown. It'll be fascinating.
I picked him before. I picked him in after Katowice 24 when they got knocked out last place, but they did win a map against Falcons, and Flay was the guy hard carrying that team. So that's when they played on Rebels in Katowice. So
Yes.
it's a solid pick. Agree with it a lot. I've also gone Polish. I've gone for X Kasper Sky, similarly where he's showing good stuff in prestige events. I talked about it earlier how we've seen X Kasper Sky in big events before with NIP, and yeah, it was a broken team, but he's still the worst player out of a roster with Alex, Blue Phoenix, and whoever else was there, Maxter and Wrinkle, I think. And he was not really doing anything in 13 maps of LAN play in Tier 1. So to see him actually do good stuff over a number of series in Tier 1 events really shows how he's developed and how much he's progressed since that time. So just for that, he earns Prospect of the Week. And he earns, and it's been really solid for him. So glad to see that.
Yeah, no, he has been pretty strong for NIP so far. They won map 1 against Heroic. That's happening right now. He was second highest rated behind a very strong U-Jerks, must be said. As soon as we start being critical of him, he loves to step up. Here we go. Kasper Sky with 100% cast as well on that map. So map 2 currently on the way. Speaking of maps, yes, Fyro, I did see that, although obviously you didn't mention it at the time. Imma dropped a 30 bomb in regulation against Mouse just to lose 13-10, as everyone else on Navi decided to shit the bed. So interesting start to the matches today. But that's going to wrap up the show. So thank you all for tuning in. If you're watching the VOD, you made it this far. Leave a comment telling us why you think Wednesday is the best or worst day of the week. Pick one. You can't be neutral about it. It's either the best day or the worst day of the week. And explain that in the comments. But yeah, we'll see you next week at our regularly scheduled hour.
I'm recording my CSGO docu immediately after this. It's going to be on Instagram, and you should go like it so I get more views.
If you want. So that's all for this week. Audio only listeners, shout out to you as well. And we'll see you next time.